defense systems integrated with agricultural operations. Laser emitters hid within irrigation sprayers. Sensor arrays functioned as crop monitoring systems. The perimeter fence contained motion detectors and energy barriers disguised as livestock containment fields. Emergency protocols could seal the entire facility behind blast doors that appeared to be storage silos. The defensive measures blended so completely with farm operations that corporate scans detected only agricultural activity. Energy requirements presented the greatest challenge. Harmonic research demanded massive power draws that would normally alert monitoring systems. The solution involved distributing consumption across multiple farm systems. Experimental energy spikes got logged as irrigation pump activations. Laboratory lighting appeared as greenhouse climate control. The power grid showed consistent agricultural usage patterns that hid the research facility's true energy needs. This wasn't a home or research center. It was a fortress laboratory designed to protect revolutionary technology. The agricultural facade provided the perfect cover for work that required both extreme secrecy and extensive space. Harmonic fusion development needed room for large-scale experiments and testing. The estate's vast surface area and deep underground facilities provided both concealment and operational capacity. The peaceful farmlands concealed the most advanced energy research in the galaxy, protected by layers of deception and defense that corporate spies had never penetrated. Lenara watched from the security monitors with a practiced eye. Her fingers traced the lines of the holographic display. She saw the human move through the estate's receiving area. His steps showed military precision despite the casual walk. She noted the way his eyes cataloged exits and potential cover. This wasn't standard transport pilot behavior. Her initial reaction was professional suspicion. Her family had learned hard lessons about trusting outsiders. Her caution came from personal history. Corporate espionage had cost her parents their research and their lives. The Helix Consortium's methods left scars that never fully healed. She remembered the quiet invasion of their home laboratory, the polite corporate representatives who became armed intruders, the forced confiscation of research under questionable legal authority. That trauma shaped her approach to every new person entering their sanctuary. Trust became something measured in millimeters, not kilometers. As Elon's granddaughter, she carried dual legacies: genetic brilliance in harmonic science and personal trauma from its pursuit. Her expertise lay in resonance calibration, the subtle art of tuning energy frequencies. She understood harmonics like a musician understands melody. The work required both precision and intuition. She could feel when frequencies aligned properly through subtle vibrations in her fingertips. This artistic approach complemented her grandfather's theoretical mastery. She recognized anomalies in Liam's movements. Transport pilots moved with practical efficiency. This human moved with combat efficiency. The difference showed in small details: the way he turned his body to maintain sight lines, the balanced stance when pausing to observe something, the controlled economy of motion that suggested training beyond flight school. His reflexes in the port footage showed grace under pressure. That combination of precision and fluidity didn't match standard human profiles. Her guarded nature conflicted with scientific curiosity. The researcher in her wanted to understand this anomaly. The trauma survivor warned against engagement. She found herself analyzing his behavior patterns alongside security metrics. She watched how he interacted with estate staff, noted his respectful distance, observed his intelligent questions about their agricultural systems. The contradictions fascinated her despite her better judgment. She initiated separate background checks through secure channels. Her queries avoided official Earth databases that might alert corporate monitors. Instead, she used academic networks and underground information markets. She sought patterns rather than facts. Previous postings, ship maintenance records, crew evaluations. The military background was obvious, but details remained frustratingly opaque. Earth protected its veterans' information with surprising efficiency. She maintained distant observation while gathering data. Her security duties provided cover for continued monitoring. She assigned herself to review perimeter sensor logs that captured his movements. She studied his interactions with technology in the estate, noted his intuitive understanding of alien systems. The human adapted quickly to unfamiliar interfaces. His hands moved with confidence across control panels designed for completely different physiologies. Professional caution and personal attraction created conflicting currents. She found herself noticing the way light caught his profile during evening inspections. the quick intelligence in his responses to technical questions, the steady calm he maintained despite the obvious strangeness of his situation. These observations troubled her more than any security threat. Emotional complications created vulnerabilities she couldn't afford. Yet she kept watching, kept analyzing. The mystery of this human became a puzzle she couldn't set aside. Elon led Liam into the underground laboratory. The air hummed with a frequency that vibrated in the bones rather than the ears. Crystalline chambers pulsed with soft light, their surfaces alive with shifting patterns. This wasn't like any energy facility Liam had seen during his military service. No roaring reactors, no massive containment fields, just a quiet harmonic resonance that seemed to permeate everything. Harmonic fusion works through subatomic resonance. Traditional energy systems rely on force, smashing particles together or splitting atoms apart. This approach uses harmony. It finds the natural frequencies of matter and amplifies them. The energy comes from alignment rather than destruction. Brisonium catalysts make this possible. They stabilize the resonance patterns that would normally collapse instantly. Without them, the reaction would either fade or escalate uncontrollably. The process generates virtually waste-free power. No radiation byproducts, no thermal pollution. The energy output exceeds conventional fusion while requiring minimal containment. Scaling possibilities range from handheld devices to planetary grids. A single arzonium capsule could power a city indefinitely. 3 capsules could support an entire world's energy needs. The technology eliminates resource scarcity for any civilization that adopts it. Elon demonstrated with a small chamber no larger than a human fist. He inserted one of the recovered capsules. The crystal glowed with increasing intensity. The hum deepened, resonating through the floor plating. Instruments showed energy output exceeding a Class 4 reactor. No heat signatures, no containment fields, just pure harmonic energy flowing through conduction rods. The chamber remained cool to the touch despite the massive power generation. This represents the greatest energy breakthrough in galactic history. Current systems require massive infrastructure, Dyson spheres around stars, orbital reactor complexes, planet-wide power grids with vulnerable distribution networks. Harmonic fusion changes everything. A ship could carry its own power source indefinitely. A colony could establish full energy independence from day one. Remote outposts could operate for centuries without resupply. The implications ripple across thousands of inhabited worlds. Energy scarcity drives most galactic conflicts. Control over power sources determines political influence. This technology could end that struggle permanently. It offers a fundamental paradigm shift in physics. Energy through harmony rather than force. Power through alignment rather than destruction. The peaceful hum in that laboratory challenged centuries of energy production principles. Liam watched the demonstration with growing understanding. This wasn't just better technology. It was a different way of thinking about reality itself. The military applications were obvious. Ships that never refueled, weapons with unlimited power. But the civilian applications were more profound. Hospitals could run advanced equipment anywhere. Agricultural worlds could power climate systems without infrastructure. The technology promised to reshape civilization itself. The quiet laboratory contained more revolutionary potential than any weapons complex or fleet base. The humming crystals represented a future where energy scarcity became historical footnote, where power was abundant and clean, where civilizations could develop without fighting over resources, all contained in 3 small capsules and an elderly scientist's lifetime of work. The corporate interests suddenly made terrible sense. This technology wouldn't just compete with existing energy systems, it would make them obsolete. The Helix Consortium held 70% control over galactic energy production. Their monopoly spanned 3 sectors, thousands of worlds, and countless orbital facilities. This dominance wasn't just market share, it was economic control over civilizations. Their profits depended on scarcity, on rationed power, on controlled distribution. Harmonic fusion threatened that entire structure. It promised unlimited clean energy available to anyone. The consortium saw extinction in that promise. Weaponization provided the perfect justification. By framing harmonic fusion as a security threat, they could invoke emergency powers. Corporate security forces could seize the technology for galactic stability. They'd claim only they could prevent dangerous proliferation. The truth was simpler. Energy weapons derived from fusion could outperform every military system in current use. They could arm ships with unlimited power, Create planetary defense grids that never depleted. The military applications were more valuable than the energy itself. Controlling both production and weapons created unprecedented power. The consortium already influenced governments through energy contracts. With harmonic weapons, they could enforce compliance directly. No need for negotiations or treaties. Their security forces would become the most powerful military in known space. Director Trex understood this equation perfectly. His shareholders demanded perpetual profit growth. Eliminating competition was cleaner than adapting to it. The consortium had suppressed energy innovations before. They'd bought patents and buried them. Funded counter-research to create doubt. Occasionally, they'd used more direct methods. Laboratories had mysterious accidents. Researchers accepted sudden retirement offers. Those who refused sometimes disappeared. Their corporate espionage networks were better funded than many planetary intelligence agencies. They protected their monopoly with ruthless efficiency. Director Trex answered to boards and shareholders focused on quarterly reports. They didn't care about galactic benefit. They cared about stock prices and dividend checks. Trex's job was maintaining that revenue stream. Harmonic fusion wasn't an opportunity to these people. It was an existential threat. Their entire corporate structure would collapse if energy became abundant and accessible. Their survival instincts overrode ethical considerations completely. They didn't want to adapt harmonic fusion. They wanted to control or eliminate it. Control meant patenting it, limiting its distribution, and charging premium prices. Elimination meant destroying the research and anyone involved. Both options served the same purpose: maintaining the energy scarcity that fueled their profits. The corporate mindset couldn't comprehend technology as a public good. Everything was either an asset or a threat. Their response would be disproportionate. They'd deploy resources far beyond the technology's current value. The cost didn't matter. What mattered was preventing change, preventing a future where energy was free and available, where their control evaporated, where civilizations developed without their permission. The corporation would rather burn the research than let it benefit others. Their threat assessment concluded that obliterating harmonic fusion was cheaper than adapting to it. This wasn't about business competition. It was about preserving a power structure that had enriched them for centuries. They'd fight to maintain energy scarcity the way drowning men fight for air. The weaponization narrative was just cover. The real goal was permanent control. Either they owned harmonic fusion or nobody would. The corporate survival instinct recognized no ethical boundaries. It only recognized threats and opportunities, and this technology was the greatest threat they'd ever faced. The second attack came without warning. Silent transports dropped from low orbit, their dark shapes blending with the night sky. They landed in precise formation around the estate's perimeter. Ramps lowered to reveal squads in corporate combat armor. Their equipment gleamed with military-grade precision. This was no thief team. This was an invasion force. The teams moved with coordinated efficiency. They breached perimeter defenses at multiple points simultaneously. Their movements showed intimate knowledge of the estate's layout. They avoided sensor clusters. They bypassed hidden security measures. Their intelligence gathering had been thorough. Someone had mapped every defense, every camera blind spot, every patrol pattern. Their weapons weren't set to kill. Neural disruptors hummed with non-lethal energy. The corporate objective was capture, not elimination. They wanted the technology intact. They wanted the scientists alive. The neural bursts would incapacitate without permanent damage. Clean extraction with minimal legal complications. Plausible deniability maintained. Lenara became a primary target. 2 squads moved directly toward her position in the main laboratory. Corporate strategy recognized her value as leverage. Capture the granddaughter, and Elon would comply voluntarily. Their tactical displays highlighted her as priority extraction. They understood family dynamics could be more effective than force. The operation clearance levels suggested Director Trex's personal involvement. The resources deployed exceeded standard corporate security parameters. The coordination between squads indicated top-down command structure. This wasn't some division manager's operation. This came from the highest corporate levels. The stakes had been recognized at the very top. Liam's presence triggered specific contingency protocols. Corporate briefings had included human response patterns. Their tactics adjusted to account for his potential interference. 2 specialists detached from the main force with specific orders. Their neural disruptors calibrated for human physiology. The corporation had prepared for the unexpected variable he represented. The invasion showed meticulous planning. Teams neutralized security personnel with precision strikes. They used electromagnetic pulses to disable non-essential systems. Their advance was methodical, room by room, level by level. They moved toward the underground laboratories with unwavering purpose. Every action served the extraction objective. This was no longer theft. This was corporate seizure. The scale demonstrated how seriously they viewed the threat. They weren't stealing research. They were capturing the researchers and their work entirely. The estate's defenses, designed against thieves and spies, struggled against military-grade assault. The failed subtlety of the port theft had consequences. The corporation abandoned stealth when subtlety failed. They switched to overwhelming force. Their assessment concluded that capture required direct action. The existential threat justified the risk. They would take what they wanted and deal with the consequences later. Liam found himself facing specialized tactics. The corporate teams used flanking maneuvers designed for human opponents. Their neural disruptors fired in coordinated bursts that covered all angles. They recognized his military training and adjusted accordingly. Their contingency plans accounted for exactly his skill set. The estate's agricultural camouflage provided little protection against determined assault. The peaceful farms became battlefields. Hydroponic towers provided cover for firefights. Irrigation channels became tactical pathways. The corporate teams used the very landscape designed to hide the facility against its defenders. The invasion force's composition revealed corporate priorities. Technical specialists accompanied combat teams. They carried equipment for rapid data extraction and material collection. They weren't just here to capture people. They intended to strip the entire facility of research and prototypes. Nothing would remain for competitors or the galactic community. The second attack transformed the conflict completely. From covert theft to overt invasion, from deniable operations to corporate warfare, the gloves came off when the corporation felt truly threatened. Their response demonstrated what they would do to protect their interests. The peaceful research estate became the front line in a war over energy's future. The elevator descended through layers of bedrock, the vibration changing frequency with each level. The doors opened not to some sterile laboratory but to a cavern alive with pulsing light. Crystalline structures grew from walls and ceilings, their facets catching and refracting energy patterns. Holographic interfaces floated above workstations, displaying equations that shifted like living things. The air hummed with a resonance that felt both ancient and advanced. This facility represented decades of independent research. No corporate oversight, no shareholder demands, no safety regulations limiting exploration. The freedom to pursue knowledge without constraints. Elon had built this sanctuary to explore possibilities others considered too dangerous or unprofitable. The isolation allowed experiments that would have been forbidden anywhere else. The design blended advanced technology with organic elements. Crystal resonance chambers integrated with holographic control systems. Living plants grew alongside energy conduits, their roots tracing patterns in the nutrient-rich gel that coated the floor. The boundary between nature and technology blurred until they became one system. This wasn't just laboratory design. It was philosophical statement. The broadcast pulse activated across the estate's irrigation grid, its harmonic wave surging outward in an invisible arc. It registered on galactic monitoring arrays 3 sectors away. The unique resonance triggered automatic alerts within the Galactic Science Council's observation network. Their systems identified the signature as unauthorized energy weapon deployment. This wasn't corporate technology. It was something new and unregulated. The Council maintained jurisdiction over technologies affecting multiple species. Their peacekeeper divisions monitored energy weapons that could shift power balances across inhabited systems. The pulse's harmonic profile didn't match any known weapon system. Its non-destructive nature puzzled their analysts. Most energy weapons leave residual damage signatures. This one simply disabled systems temporarily. The anomaly demanded investigation. Elon's preliminary research registration provided critical legal protection. He'd filed theoretical frameworks with sector science boards years earlier. These filings established his claim to harmonic principles before corporate patents could be established. The Council recognized these registrations as prior art. They documented the technology's development outside corporate control. This paperwork became armor against corporate claims. The corporate attack itself became evidence of significance. Council observers tracked the Helix Consortium's fleet movements. They recorded the unprovoked assault on a civilian research facility. The scale of force deployed against one scientist demonstrated the technology's perceived value. Corporate actions testified more powerfully than any research proposal could have. Emergency intervention protocols activated automatically. The Council's mandate included preventing technological monopolies that could harm multiple species. Peacekeeper vessels received jump coordinates, their arrival times calculated against corporate assault timelines. The legal framework for intervention existed precisely for scenarios like this. Protection of galactic public goods outweighed corporate intellectual property claims. Council declarations preempted corporate seizures under interstellar law. Their authority could temporarily suspend property rights during emergency assessments. The declaration labeled harmonic fusion as essential galactic infrastructure. This classification prevented corporate control while permitting continued development. It was a legal maneuver that balanced innovation with regulation. The peacekeeper vessels emerged from jump space precisely as corporate systems rebooted. Their sleek silver ships positioned between the corporate fleet and the planet. Council diplomats transmitted legal injunctions to Director Trex personally. The corporate claim of technology seizure became invalid under emergency protocols. Their military presence now violated interstellar law. The resolution transformed harmonic fusion's legal status. It became protected research rather than corporate property. The technology's potential benefit to all species outweighed any single entity's claim. The Council's intervention ensured its development would continue independently. Their peacekeepers would provide security during the transition period. This outcome demonstrated that galactic governance could counterbalance corporate power. The system worked as intended, protecting innovations that served the many rather than the few. The Council's authority prevented the Helix Consortium from controlling energy's future. Their intervention proved that regulations could protect progress from predation. The corporate fleet withdrew under Council supervision. Their lawyers protested but complied with legal requirements. Director Trex faced sanctions for unauthorized military deployment. The estate's security perimeter expanded under peacekeeper protection. Research could continue without corporate interference. The Galactic Council's involvement changed everything. Their recognition of harmonic fusion as public infrastructure ensured its benefits would spread across species lines. No single corporation could monopolize what belonged to everyone. Sometimes the system actually worked. Regulations fulfilled their purpose. Protection extended to those who needed it most. The Galactic Council's summons arrived through secure channels. The invitation bore the official seal of interstellar diplomacy, a holographic emblem that pulsed with soft light. Liam stood in his simple transport pilot's quarters holding the most significant document any human had received in generations. The message didn't come from Earth authorities. It came directly from the galactic governing body that had largely ignored humanity's existence. Earth's isolationist policies had limited our representation for decades. We focused on internal development, wary of galactic politics. Our few ambassadors held minor positions with limited influence. The Council preferred species that prioritized collective benefit over individual gain. Humanity's reputation for territorial behavior and national interests worked against us. We were seen as too divided, too self-interested for meaningful galactic cooperation. Liam's actions demonstrated values the Council sought. His intervention in the port showed instinctive protection of others. His defense of harmonic fusion proved commitment to shared benefit over personal gain. The Council reviewed the footage from multiple angles. They saw a human acting against his own species' patterns, putting himself at risk for a stranger's benefit. Their analysis suggested humanity might be capable of broader perspectives than previously demonstrated. His military background provided unexpected diplomatic advantages. Council security committees valued practical experience with conflict resolution. Liam's Earth Expeditionary Service gave him credibility in security discussions. He understood tactical realities beyond theoretical diplomacy. This background proved valuable when discussing technology transfer protocols and protection mechanisms for harmonic fusion. His direct experience with the technology made him uniquely qualified. He'd witnessed harmonic fusion's potential and risks firsthand. He understood both the scientific principles and the ethical implications. This knowledge positioned him to advise on responsible distribution frameworks. The Council needed someone who could bridge technical understanding with practical implementation. The ambassador role encompassed complex responsibilities. Coordinating technology transfer across multiple species required cultural sensitivity. Establishing security protocols demanded tactical awareness. Liam would interface with scientific committees, military advisors, and diplomatic corps. His unusual background covered all these areas in ways traditional diplomats could not. Earth governments recognized the strategic opportunity. Accepting Liam's appointment created our first meaningful foothold in galactic politics. The position came with access to Council intelligence networks and decision-making processes. For the first time, humanity would have direct input on policies affecting multiple sectors. The potential benefits outweighed traditional isolationist concerns. The appointment demonstrated how individual actions can redefine species positions. One reflexive decision in a spaceport corridor led to this moment. A simple act of tripping a thief shifted humanity's standing in galactic society. The Council saw in Liam what they hadn't seen in our species before. Willingness to protect others, commitment to shared progress, courage to act when action was needed. His journey from transport pilot to ambassador showed the universe's unpredictability. Sometimes fate chooses unlikely messengers. Sometimes small actions create large consequences. The human who started as a variable in corporate equations became a voice for his entire species, all because he saw someone needing help and decided to provide it. The Council's decision reflected their hope for humanity's potential. They saw past our isolationism to what we might become. Liam's actions suggested we could evolve beyond self-interest. His appointment was an investment in that possibility, a gamble that humanity might yet learn to value collective benefit as much as individual gain. The new ambassador stood before his reflection, adjusting the formal council attire. The clothing felt strange against his skin. The weight of responsibility felt familiar. He'd been carrying his species' potential since that moment in the port corridor. Now he would carry it before the galactic community. A single act of courage had opened doors no human had entered before. That thief's snarl became both prophecy and promise. His curse echoed through corporate strategy sessions and council deliberations. Ripples from that single leg trip reached further than anyone could have predicted. Liam's reflexive action challenged galactic power structures. It exposed corporate greed and revealed humanity's potential. His simple choice to help a stranger altered interspecies relations forever. Sometimes change comes from grand plans. Sometimes it comes from instinct. A moment's courage can outweigh years of calculation. The universe often turns on small decisions made without thinking. Reflexive kindness became revolutionary force. A trip became a triumph. An Earthling's instinct reshaped the stars. Workstations showed simultaneous development paths. One terminal displayed energy production metrics alongside medical applications. The same harmonic principles that powered cities could heal bodies. Resonance frequencies that stabilized fusion reactions also showed promise for cellular regeneration. The research refused to be categorized into single disciplines. Complete harmonic fusion prototypes stood in various stages of development. Small handheld units glowed with soft light. Larger chamber-based systems hummed with contained power. The technology wasn't theoretical. It was operational, ready for deployment. The ursonium catalysts provided the missing piece that made everything work. Security measures were everywhere but subtly integrated. Scanner fields detected intruders through energy signature analysis. Defense systems used harmonic disruption rather than projectile weapons. The entire facility was designed to protect without destroying. Even the security reflected Elon's ethical approach to technology. The scale was staggering. The underground complex extended far beyond the surface farm. Multiple levels housed specialized research areas. Energy generation sectors connected to medical research wings. Component synthesis labs produced the ursonium catalysts on site. This was completely self-contained research ecosystem. Holographic displays served practical purposes beyond data visualization. Researchers manipulated energy patterns with gesture controls. They tuned resonance frequencies by adjusting holographic interfaces. The technology made complex processes accessible through intuitive interaction. Knowledge became something you could almost touch. The farm above provided perfect camouflage. Agricultural energy signatures masked the laboratory's emissions. Power consumption appeared as irrigation system demands. Unusual equipment could be explained as farming innovation. The peaceful surface operation hid the revolutionary work below. This wasn't just a hidden laboratory. It was a complete energy revolution waiting to happen. The facility contained everything needed to transform galactic infrastructure. Prototypes ready for production, research data comprehensive enough for replication, training systems for new operators. The only thing missing was safe distribution. Elon's voice echoed through the chamber. He explained how his process harnessed natural resonance frequencies to create self-sustaining reactions. The technology could end resource scarcity across the galaxy, produce unlimited clean energy with minimal input, change civilization itself. The corporate interests suddenly made terrible sense. This wasn't just valuable technology. It was a paradigm shift they couldn't control. The medical bay hummed with a different frequency than the laboratory above. Lenara's hands moved over Liam's injured shoulder, her fingers not touching skin but directing energy patterns from a crystalline device. It emitted a soft warmth that sank deep into muscle tissue. His Earth military training emphasized chemical treatments and physical therapy. This felt like being tuned like an instrument. The sensation was strange but effective, pain fading without drugs or invasive procedures. Their approaches to crisis had already clashed. Liam acted on instinct, moving before thinking. Lenara calculated risks and consequences first. His reflex in the port corridor seemed reckless to her careful nature. Her initial suspicion felt like coldness to his direct manner. These differences created friction in every interaction. They spoke different languages of action and reaction. The healing device worked through resonant frequency alignment. It found the body's natural rhythms and harmonized damaged tissues with those patterns. No scalpels, no injections, no pharmaceutical interventions. The Vrixian approach saw the body as an energy system rather than a mechanical one. Healing came through alignment rather than repair. Liam watched the crystalline emitter pulse in sync with his own heartbeat. The intimacy of the process unnerved them both. Her face was inches from his injured shoulder. He could feel her breath on his skin. Professional boundaries blurred in the close quarters. The device required precise positioning and constant adjustment. Her fingers occasionally brushed against his arm as she calibrated frequencies. Each contact carried unspoken questions. His military stoicism warred with unexpected vulnerability. Her scientific focus struggled against growing personal interest. Liam's silence during the procedure read differently through Vrixian social interpretation. Where humans might see emotional distance, Lenara perceived depth. His quiet endurance suggested inner strength rather than lack of feeling. His minimal responses to pain indicated control rather than coldness. These cultural misreadings created openings where walls might have stood. The corporate attack forced integration of their strengths. Liam's tactical knowledge identified secure positions and escape routes. Lenara's understanding of the estate's systems created defensive advantages. His quick decisions complemented her careful planning. They began operating as a unit, each covering the other's limitations. The crisis demanded they use their differences as assets rather than obstacles. Cross-species connection emerged through shared values rather than shared experiences. They both valued protecting the innocent. Both believed knowledge should serve everyone. Both understood sacrifice for greater good. These common foundations bridged their cultural divide. The physical attraction became secondary to philosophical alignment. Lenara found herself trusting his instincts despite her natural caution. Liam learned to value her deliberation despite his impulse for immediate action. They began anticipating each other's movements during the defense. His combat experience informed her security adjustments. Her technical knowledge enhanced his tactical decisions. The healing session ended with his shoulder functioning perfectly. No stiffness, no residual pain. The device had harmonized tissue damage without scarring or recovery time. But more than physical healing had occurred in that medical bay. Walls had lowered. Understandings had shifted. Two different ways of being in the world had found unexpected compatibility. Their connection wasn't about becoming similar. It was about valuing their differences. His action-oriented approach protected her contemplative nature. Her careful planning prevented his impulsiveness from becoming recklessness. They became stronger together than apart. The corporate invasion had forced a partnership that might otherwise have taken years to develop. The crisis revealed that cross-species relationships work when values align, even when methods differ. The human need to act and the Vrixian need to understand became complementary, rather than contradictory. Their growing connection demonstrated that sometimes the deepest bonds form between those who approach life from completely different angles but share the same fundamental priorities: protection, justice, hope for a better future. 3. Combat cruisers slid into orbit above the estate. Their dark shapes blotted out stars as they took position. This wasn't a police action or corporate security response. This was full military deployment against a single civilian facility. The scale demonstrated how seriously the consortium viewed the threat. They'd brought warships to a scientist's home. The ships held specialized teams unlike any security force. Containment specialists trained in handling volatile technologies. Research transfer teams equipped to strip laboratories completely. Their presence revealed the dual objectives: capture the technology and eliminate all competition. This was corporate acquisition through overwhelming force. Their orbital positioning created a perfect blockade. The ships hung just beyond effective range of surface defenses. They controlled all approach vectors. Nothing could leave the atmosphere without their permission. Nothing could reach the estate from outside. The blockade isolated the targets completely while minimizing risk to the corporate assets. Support vessels carried unexpected personnel. Corporate lawyers waited with prepared declarations of legal seizure. Their documents claimed the technology violated patent laws and safety regulations. The legal framework provided cover for the military operation. They intended to take everything and call it legitimate business practice. The deployment cost exceeded annual profits from multiple planetary contracts. Fuel for the cruisers alone could power a small colony for years. The financial investment showed how desperately the consortium wanted harmonic fusion controlled. They were spending fortunes to protect their monopoly against a single independent researcher. Director Trex's personal presence on the flagship signaled unprecedented involvement. Corporate directors rarely leave their orbital offices. They certainly don't command military operations personally. His direct oversight meant this operation had maximum priority. The board had authorized whatever measures necessary. This wasn't just about capturing technology. It was about making an example. The consortium wanted to demonstrate what happened to those who threatened their interests. The warships served as warning to any other scientists considering independent research. The message was clear: challenge us and we bring overwhelming force. The corporate strategy had shifted completely. The failed theft attempt showed subtle methods wouldn't work. The ground assault revealed unexpected resistance. Now they escalated to ultimate force. Orbital bombardment capabilities, marine deployment systems, full-spectrum dominance. They would either control harmonic fusion or erase it from existence. When two masked figures smashed through the crowd on Port Nexus, I didn't think. I just moved. My leg hooked around the thief's ankle and sent him sprawling. The bag tumbled free. "Looking for this?" I asked the emerald-skinned elder. But the thief's warning, "Watch yourself, Earthling," echoed long after. Little did I know that bag held more than just possessions. It contained the key to reshaping the galaxy's future. Port Nexus breathed with the rhythms of 1,000 different species. Narrow market corridors twisted into sudden open plazas, where gravity fields from overlapping systems made the air feel thick. Vapor rose from food stalls selling things that smelled like burning wires and sweet rot. Glowing signs and alien scripts cast shifting patterns across faces that weren't human. The crowds moved in currents, some fast, some slow. Tourists from high-gravity worlds plodded through lanes where insectoid merchants skittered along walls. The design wasn't accidental. Those narrow passages forced contact. Bumps and brushes happened constantly. A hand could slip into a pocket. A bag could vanish between one step and the next. It was a pickpocket's paradise built by committee. Cultural norms here were a tangled mess. A Graythian would watch a theft and consider it entertainment. A Xylosian felt obligated to report it to authorities that didn't exist. Most species just looked away. Getting involved meant paperwork or worse, cross-species legal disputes that could trap you here for cycles. Inaction was the safest policy. Humans were rare in this sector. Our ships were slower, our tech was behind. When we did show up, we stood out. Too tall, wrong proportions, that strange bipedal walk. We were viewed as impulsive, unpredictable, the kind of species that might actually try to help. The Thieves Guild operated like a public utility. They paid kickbacks to the Port Authority. They had territorial agreements with local enforcers. In the merchant quarter, they worked with near total freedom. Jurisdiction switched hands every 100 meters. Corporate security, species-specific guards, port officials. Nobody had complete authority. The gaps were where business got done. The Elder's emerald skin marked him as Vrixian. His people built the first resonance drives. They were thinkers, inventors, academics. Their aged were revered. Wrinkles on a Vrixian face represented centuries of experience. Attacking one in daylight wasn't just theft. It was a cultural insult. The thieves wore polished chrome masks without eye holes. Their movements were synchronized, efficient. Syndicate contractors always use that blank-faced look. It's corporate branding. Deniable assets on a payroll. They don't do random muggings. This was a planned grab. They moved straight for the Elder. Ignored wealthy-looking aliens carrying obvious valuables. They wanted one specific target. Their exit route was pre-cleared. A transport sled waited on a lower level, engines humming. That warning wasn't just anger. Earthling was a specific identifier. The thief knew what I was before I moved. The syndicate marks targets. They track potential complications. My human presence had already been logged. That threat was a message, a claim of ownership. This was their territory, their operation, and I was now a variable in their equation. Liam Bradley didn't decide to intervene. His body decided for him. 5 years of Earth military training had rewired his nervous system. Muscle memory bypassed conscious thought entirely. His leg shot out, hooked the thief's ankle, and dropped him before his brain processed the situation. Adrenaline sharpened everything. The polished floor, the thief's surprised grunt, the bag spinning through the air. Earth forces condition pilots for hostile environments. They drill response times until reactions become automatic. In vacuum breaches or boarding actions, hesitation means death. That leg trip maneuver came from close-quarters combat modules, not civilian self-defense training. It was designed to disable quickly, create distance, and neutralize immediate threats. The military built that response into him like firmware. Alien social protocols complicate intervention. Most species operate under complex interspecies laws that discourage involvement in others' affairs. A Zelosian would calculate legal liabilities first. A Grathian might film it for entertainment. Only humans seem to bypass the calculations and act. Our instinct for immediate justice often clashes with galactic norms that value process over outcome. Liam violated Port Nexus's unspoken rules. Non-interference keeps the peace between dozens of species with conflicting legal systems. Getting involved creates diplomatic incidents, paperwork, and potential retribution. The crowd knew this. They parted to let the thieves through. They looked away from the struggling Elder. They understood the calculus of survival in a port where jurisdiction changes every corridor. His Earthling status created a strange paradox. Humans were both invisible and conspicuous here. Our ships were slow, our technology outdated. Most aliens dismissed us as backward, but that dismissal meant they didn't track our movements closely. They didn't expect initiative from a species they considered primitive. Our unpredictability became our camouflage and our liability. That single reflexive act demonstrated something alien cultures rarely exhibit. Humanity's willingness to protect complete strangers. Not for gain, not for honor, not even for recognition. Something deeper. An ethical programming that fires before logic kicks in. The military trained the response, but the impulse came from somewhere older. Some built-in human firmware that says when someone needs help, you help. Courage emerged without calculation. No risk assessment, no cost-benefit analysis. Just pure action. Human morality operates like a reflex. Sometimes clumsy, sometimes effective, always immediate. That instinct made Liam a problem for the thieves. It made him a curiosity for the Vrixian. It made him a variable in equations that preferred predictable outcomes. The galaxy runs on careful plans and calculated risks. Humans bring the unexpected. A leg in the right place at the wrong time. A bag returned to its owner. A warning thrown back in a thief's face. Simple actions with complex consequences rippling through crowded spaceport corridors. The woven alien fibers appeared ordinary. The design common throughout the quadrant. A simple shoulder bag any merchant might carry. No decorative elements, no visible tech. Nothing to distinguish it from thousands of others moving through the port. Its unremarkable appearance was its first layer of defense. Specialized scanning equipment detected what eyes could not see. The contents generated a unique energy signature, faint but distinct. Corporate sensors picked it up 3 levels away. The thieves tracked that signal through crowds and infrastructure. following a trail invisible to standard security systems. They moved with purpose, ignoring easier targets with more obvious value. Elon Terrace's lifework centered on energy resonance. His research focused on harmonic stabilization techniques that could revolutionize power systems. The Virixian scientist had spent decades studying how energy patterns could be synchronized rather than forced. His theories challenged conventional power generation methods that relied on containment and control. The thieves bypassed wealthier targets. They ignored jeweled merchants and diplomats carrying sealed cases. Their trajectory cut straight through the crowd toward one specific elderly Virixian. This wasn't opportunistic theft. It was a surgical extraction. Every movement calculated, every potential obstacle pre-mapped. They knew exactly who they wanted and what he carried. Ursonium catalysts require specialized containment. In their active state, they emit harmonic frequencies that can trigger cascade reactions in unstable elements. Standard containment fields would have amplified the resonance, creating a feedback loop. The bag's material absorbed and neutralized these emissions while maintaining the catalyst's stability. It functioned as both camouflage and protective housing. The woven fibers incorporated rare mineral threads that dampened energy signatures. They prevented premature activation while allowing controlled energy transfer. The material looked like common market goods but contained microscopic structures aligned to specific harmonic frequencies. Only someone with Elon's knowledge could have engineered such effective yet discreet protection. Corporate surveillance teams had monitored Elon's movements for weeks. They tracked his research progress, his daily routines, his security patterns. This transport opportunity presented a narrow window. The scientist rarely left his secured facility. Today he carried the prototypes personally, believing the crowded port offered anonymity. The corporate spies waited for this exact moment when he would be vulnerable yet accessible. The Guild's intelligence sharing included full sensor logs. Corporate analysts reviewed the footage of Liam's movement. The leg sweep wasn't amateur intervention. It showed trained precision, proper weight distribution, calculated angle, immediate recovery stance. This wasn't civilian behavior. Their threat assessment algorithms upgraded Liam from random bystander to potential opposition element. His military background suggested possible special operations training, though Earth records remained frustratingly opaque. Elon Terrace's security team operated their own surveillance network throughout the port. Their systems alerted them to the incident involving their principal. They identified the human participant through facial recognition and movement analysis. Krell, the security chief, initially dismissed Liam as irrelevant until he reviewed the tactical details of the intervention. The precision of the maneuver suggested capabilities that might prove useful. They began tracking Liam's movements while assessing whether he represented threat or potential asset. Within 2 hours, both factions monitored Liam's every movement. Corporate trackers followed his progress through the market sectors. They noted his purchases, his interactions, his return to his ship. Elon's security team observed the corporate observers, creating a layered surveillance scenario. The human remained unaware he'd become the central node in an invisible network of watchers. Liam's reflex action had unintended consequences. His military training made him visible to systems designed to identify threats. His human propensity to intervene marked him as unpredictable. The corporation now saw him as a variable requiring either neutralization or co-option. Elon's team saw potential usefulness in his demonstrated skills and apparent ethics. Both sides began running projections on how he might affect their operations. The transport pilot's simple act of tripping a thief created ripple effects through multiple organizations. Corporate security briefings now included his profile. Extraction teams received updated parameters accounting for potential human intervention. Elon's security protocols were revised to consider unexpected allies. A single moment of instinctive action had drawn a lone human into conflicts between galactic power structures. Liam continued his supply run, unaware that his image now appeared on security monitors light years away. He checked coolant levels, verified cargo manifests, and planned his departure route. The corporation analyzed his patterns, predicting his decisions based on standard human behavior models. They failed to account for the very unpredictability that made him dangerous to their plans. His ordinary movements now carried extraordinary significance to watchers in the shadows. Krell's massive frame blocked the doorway as Elon proposed the invitation. The security chief's carapace bristled with visible disapproval. Bringing an unknown human into their secured location violated every protocol. Krell had spent years building layers of protection around the scientist. Now his principal wanted to invite a random Earth pilot into their sanctuary. The risk assessment flashed red across multiple parameters. Elon overruled the objection with quiet certainty. Vrixian debt traditions stretched back millennia. The debt of life required specific acknowledgement. When someone preserves your existence, you incur obligations that transcend security concerns. The tradition wasn't optional. It formed the foundation of Vrixian social contracts. Refusing to acknowledge the debt would dishonor Elon's ancestors and undermine his cultural identity. The debt required reciprocal protection. Under Vrixian law, the saved and savior became temporarily bound. Elon owed Liam not just gratitude but actual protection. The human had drawn corporate attention through his intervention. The debt required Elon to offer sanctuary against the threats he'd inadvertently exposed Liam to. The tradition recognized that rescue often created new dangers for the rescuer. Elon had reviewed the port footage extensively. He recognized military precision in Liam's movement. The leg sweep wasn't random violence. It showed calculated efficiency, minimum effort, maximum effect. The recovery stance suggested combat training. Those skills could prove valuable for estate security. The human represented an asset they hadn't known they needed. The estate's location remained their greatest secret. Corporate surveillance hadn't pinpointed it yet. Bringing Liam there meant risking exposure. His ship would need to follow specific jump patterns to avoid tracking. They'd have to scrub his navigation systems afterward. The invitation created a temporary vulnerability in their security perimeter. Liam's transport background suggested practical mechanical knowledge. Earth ships were notoriously temperamental. Keeping them operational required improvisation and system understanding. Those skills might translate to estate maintenance. Their equipment often required unconventional fixes when standard parts weren't available. A human mechanic might spot solutions their own technicians missed. The invitation served dual purposes. It fulfilled cultural obligations while assessing a potential ally. Elon needed to determine whether this human could be trusted with their secrets. The debt tradition provided the pretext for closer examination. They could observe him in controlled conditions, evaluate his character, and determine his potential usefulness. Elon sensed something in the human's actions. That instinctive move to protect a stranger suggested ethical foundations he rarely encountered. The corporation operated on pure calculation. Their mercenaries followed orders without moral considerations. This human had acted from some deeper place. That quality might prove essential for protecting work that could benefit all species, not just shareholders. Cultural traditions and practical needs converged. The debt provided the reason. The security assessment provided the justification. The potential alliance provided the motivation. A single reflexive act in a spaceport corridor was about to draw a human pilot into the most secured location on the planet. The invitation went out through encrypted channels. The coordinates led to a place no corporate spy had ever found. The estate appeared as a sprawling agricultural operation stretching across gentle hills. Advanced hydroponic towers rose alongside traditional soil beds, their glass surfaces catching the light. Irrigation systems hummed with efficient precision. Crops grew in perfect rows under climate-controlled domes. The scent of rich soil and growing plants filled the air. Workers moved through the fields with the practiced ease of experienced farmers. From above, it looked like a model of sustainable alien agriculture. Beneath the cultivated surface lay something entirely different. Elevators disguised as grain silos descended multiple levels into bedrock. The subterranean facility extended deeper than the surface farms spread wide. State-of-the-art laboratories occupied cavernous spaces carved from natural rock formations. Clean rooms operated behind reinforced doors marked with agricultural supply labels. The peaceful farm masked a research complex dedicated to energy revolution. The agricultural cover served multiple protective functions. Growing plants emitted complex energy signatures that masked the laboratory emissions below. The hydroponic systems required substantial power consumption that explained energy spikes from experimental runs. Unusual equipment could be explained as farming innovation rather than energy research. Corporate surveillance satellites saw only a highly productive agricultural operation. The perfect camouflage hid in plain sight. Underground placement provided natural advantages. The bedrock offered insulation against energy scans and atmospheric monitoring. Temperature fluctuations from experiments dissipated into surrounding rock, rather than creating detectable thermal signatures. The natural geology also provided structural integrity against potential attacks. Multiple access points disguised as irrigation control stations allowed secure entry and exit. The facility leveraged natural protections that artificial systems couldn't replicate. The farm workers weren't agricultural laborers. Security personnel operated harvesting equipment while monitoring perimeter sensors. Research assistants performed crop maintenance while analyzing data streams. Their cover identities included soil specialists and irrigation technicians. Their movements through the field served dual purposes, maintaining the camouflage while providing external security. Every apparent farmer carried weapons and communication gear beneath their work clothes. The estate's agricultural camouflage offered no protection against warships. The peaceful farms lay exposed to orbital sensors and weapons. The underground facilities provided some shelter, but complete containment was inevitable. The corporation could siege them indefinitely, or simply glass the location from orbit. The legal seizure team prepared their documents while weapons systems charged. The combination of military power and corporate law created an unstoppable force. They would take what they wanted and have paperwork proving it was legitimate. The lawyers justified what the soldiers accomplished. Director Trex watched from the flagship's bridge. His face showed no emotion as targeting solutions lit up displays. The cost meant nothing compared to protecting the energy monopoly. The risk meant nothing compared to eliminating competition. This scientist's work threatened centuries of corporate dominance. The corporate fleet represented more than military power. It symbolized the consortium's willingness to destroy rather than adapt. They would rather eliminate revolutionary technology than lose control of energy production. The warships orbiting a single estate showed how far they would go to maintain power. Liam's Earth military training had prepared him for situations like this. Facing superior forces with limited resources, his expeditionary force experience emphasized asymmetrical warfare, how small units could counter larger opponents through tactical innovation. The corporate mercenaries moved with polished precision but predictable patterns. They'd trained for standard scenarios. Clear corridors, defined engagement zones, established protocols. The estate's chaotic environment disrupted their playbook entirely. The agricultural features provided unexpected advantages. Hydroponic towers created cover and concealment. Irrigation channels became movement routes. Crop rows offered ambush points. Liam used the environment like another weapon system. He directed defenders through greenhouse jungles and maintenance tunnels. The corporate teams struggled to adapt. Their sensors confused plant life with human signatures. Their formation tactics faltered in irregular terrain. He recognized patterns from previous conflicts. The corporate advance followed established suppression and movement drills, flanking maneuvers he'd seen on multiple battlefields. Their communication protocols had predictable gaps. He set traps using their own tactical predictability against them. Diversionary attacks drew them into prepared kill zones where estate defenses could concentrate fire. Integrating alien technology with human tactics created novel solutions. He combined holographic projectors with physical barriers, used agricultural drones for reconnaissance and distraction, repurposed irrigation systems to create obstacles and hazards. The estate's unique features became force multipliers. Defenders used terrain they knew intimately against invaders unfamiliar with the environment. The maintenance tunnels became strategic pathways rather than vulnerabilities. Liam mapped them as alternative movement routes. They allowed defenders to bypass corporate positions and attack from unexpected angles. Small teams could emerge behind advancing squads. The tunnels provided cover for repositioning and resupply during extended engagements. Krell's security teams adapted quickly to human leadership. They learned to interpret Liam's terse commands and hand signals. Their discipline complemented his improvisational style. The combination created a flexible defense that could shift tactics rapidly. Corporate forces faced an opponent that changed patterns constantly. Just as they adapted to one approach, another emerged. Flexibility overcame technological superiority. The corporate teams had better equipment but rigid training. They followed procedures while Liam's defenders exploited opportunities. When one tactic failed, they tried another. The defense evolved continuously based on what worked and what didn't. This adaptability frustrated the corporate commanders. Who expected predictable resistance? Human ingenuity transformed apparent weaknesses into advantages. Simple farming equipment became defensive tools. Fertilizer spreaders created obscuring clouds. Harvesting machinery provided mobile cover. Even the estate's peaceful nature worked against the invaders. The corporate teams hesitated to destroy valuable-looking equipment and facilities. That hesitation cost them tactical opportunities. The harmonic pulse solution emerged from this combination of approaches. Liam recognized the non-lethal potential in Elon's research. His military mind saw weapon applications where the scientists saw only energy generation. Linara's technical knowledge made the adaptation possible. Together they created a defense that disabled without destroying. A temporary weapon serving permanent peace. Improvisation defeated doctrine. The corporate forces expected conventional resistance. They prepared for standard security protocols. Instead, they faced creative tactics leveraging every aspect of the environment. Liam's Earth training emphasized adapting to circumstances. That flexibility proved more valuable than all the corporate technology and numbers. Sometimes the best defense isn't stronger weapons but better thinking. The harmonic tuner glowed with soft light, its crystalline surfaces pulsing in steady rhythm. Elon had designed it for energy stabilization, not violence. It was meant to harmonize reactions, not disrupt systems. Liam saw something different. His Earth military experience included energy weapon principles. He recognized the potential in those resonance patterns. The same technology that stabilized fusion could destabilize enemy systems. Retuning the emitter required precise adjustments. Liam explained how Earth weapons use targeted frequencies to disable electronics. The concept was similar, though the execution was vastly more sophisticated. The harmonic pulse wouldn't destroy, it would disrupt. Temporary system failure rather than permanent damage. It targeted technology operating on harmonic principles, which included most advanced systems. Calibration demanded expertise from both their worlds. Liam understood the tactical application, but not the technical specifics. Linara knew the resonance science, but not the combat requirements. They worked together at the control interface. Her fingers adjusted frequency modulators while he suggested pulse durations. Their collaboration bridged the gap between theory and practical application. The pulse would affect any system using harmonic stabilization. That included the corporate ship's propulsion, weapons, and sensors. It was a non-lethal solution that matched Elon's ethical standards. Disable without destroying, halt without harming. The temporary weaponization served the larger goal of preventing permanent weaponization by the corporation. Linara's resonance expertise proved crucial. She tuned the emitter to broadcast patterns that would overload systems without causing catastrophic failure. Her understanding of harmonic interference allowed precise targeting. The pulse would create cascading disruptions that would take hours to reset. Enough time to resolve the situation without violence. The solution required temporary violation of principles. Weaponizing the technology went against Elon's core beliefs, but allowing the corporation to capture it would lead to permanent weaponization on a massive scale. Sometimes ethical use requires uncomfortable compromises. Protecting the greater good meant bending principles temporarily. They configured the emitter to broadcast through the estate's agricultural systems. The irrigation networks could distribute the pulse across the entire property. The hydroponic towers would amplify the signal naturally. The very systems designed to hide the laboratory now became part of its defense. Camouflage transformed into weapon platform. The harmonic pulse represented a strategic choice. Not to destroy the corporate forces, but to neutralize them. Give them time to reconsider their approach. Show them the technology could defend itself without causing harm. The pulse was a statement as much as a weapon, a demonstration of controlled power. Liam monitored the corporate ship's positions. He calculated the optimal broadcast pattern. The pulse needed to cover all three vessels simultaneously. Any warning would allow them to adjust their systems. The element of surprise was essential. The first pulse had to be completely effective. Linara made final adjustments to the frequency modulation. The emitter hummed with increasing energy. Crystalline structures throughout the laboratory began glowing brighter. The air vibrated with gathering power. They were about to use harmony as a weapon, turning the technology's core principle against those who would misuse it. The solution balanced military necessity with ethical considerations. It demonstrated that defense didn't require destruction, that protection could be achieved through intelligence rather than force. The harmonic pulse was the perfect response to corporate aggression. It showed their technology could defend itself without compromising its peaceful purpose. They stood ready at the controls. The corporate ships hung in orbit, unaware of the response being prepared. The emitter's hum deepened to a resonant thrum that vibrated through the floor. Every system in the laboratory glowed with potential energy. The peaceful technology was about to demonstrate its defensive capabilities. The bag contained 3 Ursonium capsules, each no larger than a human thumb. These prototypes represented the culmination of decades of research. They could stabilize harmonic fusion reactions at scales previously impossible. The catalysts allowed energy generation through resonance rather than force, eliminating waste and containment requirements that plagued current systems. This wasn't theft of personal property. It was corporate espionage targeting revolutionary technology. The capsules could have given one energy conglomerate control over the next generation of power systems. The thieves weren't common criminals. They were extraction specialists sent to acquire technology that would have shifted the galactic energy balance permanently. The bag's ordinary appearance concealed its extraordinary significance. What seemed like a simple act of returning lost property actually prevented a technological coup. That momentary intervention in the crowded port affected corporate strategies, energy futures, and power dynamics across multiple systems, all contained within woven fibers and 3 small capsules that hummed with potential. Elon Terrace moved through the crowd like a scholar in a battlefield. His emerald skin showed the deep wrinkles of centuries, each line marking decades of research and contemplation. Phyrexians measure age differently than humans. Their elderly appearance signifies accumulated wisdom, not physical decline. This particular scientist carried the weight of 400 years in his careful movements and observant eyes. He represented the old guard of galactic science, idealists who believed knowledge should serve all species, not corporate balance sheets. His work on harmonic fusion began when human spaceflight was still limited to our solar system. For decades, it remained theoretical. Complex equations, experimental models, endless calculations. Then came the breakthrough. 3 months ago, his team stabilized the first sustainable resonance reaction. The energy output exceeded all projections while requiring minimal containment. It was the kind of discovery that rewrites physics textbooks and redraws power grids across inhabited systems. The Helix Consortium made 7 contract offers, each more lucrative than the last. They promised research facilities, unlimited funding, patent protections. Elon refused them all. His refusal wasn't negotiation tactics or price positioning. He genuinely believed energy technology belonged to the galactic commons. Let one corporation control harmonic fusion, and they would control the destiny of thousands of worlds. He'd seen it happen with previous energy innovations. The pattern always repeated itself. His presence in Port Nexus was unusual. Normally, he remained within his secured estate, protected by loyal staff and advanced systems. Today required personal involvement. The Ursonium catalysts were too sensitive to trust to couriers, too unstable for standard transport protocols. He needed to deliver them personally to a research team waiting in the Gamma Quadrant. The crowded port seemed like reasonable camouflage. Millions of beings moving through the corridors. What better place to hide than in plain sight? Corporate surveillance had tracked his unusual movement. They knew the catalysts were traveling. They knew his security protocols would be reduced outside the estate. The thieves weren't random opportunists. They were corporate extraction specialists waiting for this exact window. They understood the value of what he carried far better than any common criminal would. The elderly Phyrexian represented everything corporations feared. Independent research, ethical principles, technology developed outside their control. His gentle demeanor concealed revolutionary potential. That simple woven bag contained prototypes that could dismantle energy monopolies built over centuries. The catalysts weren't just scientific achievements. They were keys to reshaping how civilizations powered themselves, how species developed, how the galaxy allocated resources. His life's work balanced on that moment in the crowded corridor. The theft attempt wasn't about stealing possessions. It was about controlling the future. The corporate strategy was clear. Acquire the technology, claim it as their own development, and bury the independent research that created it. They would have rewritten the history of harmonic fusion to make it appear as their innovation from the beginning. Elon's quiet determination masked tremendous courage. Moving through that dangerous space with universe-changing technology, trusting his own judgment over corporate security, believing the right thing would find protection in a galaxy that often rewarded the opposite. His wrinkled hands had built something that could power worlds. His ethical stance threatened the most powerful energy conglomerate in known space, all contained in one elderly scientist who simply thought knowledge should be free. That warning carried more weight than simple anger. The thief's voice rasped through his mask with specific intent. Watch yourself, Earthling wasn't just a threat. It was identification, acknowledgement. The Guild rarely singles out species during operations. They prefer anonymity, uniformity. This specific recognition meant something. Liam had been marked before he moved. The corporate team had protocols for human intervention. Their briefing packets included profiles on species likely to interfere. Humans always ranked high on that list. Our reputation for impulsive action preceded us throughout the sector. Effective but unpredictable, a variable they'd accounted for but hoped to avoid. The chrome mask hid more than a face. Subtle bulges along the temples suggested cybernetic enhancements. Standard guild thugs don't get neural interfaces. Corporate extraction teams do. The equipment lets them receive real-time updates, coordinate movements, and stream data back to handlers. This wasn't some freelance operation. The funding showed in the tech. Their retreat confirmed the professionalism. No panic, no hesitation. The fallen thief rolled to his feet smoothly. Both moved toward a predetermined exit point. Extraction teams always have fallback routes, alternative extraction points, contingencies for complications. Common criminals would have fought or fled randomly. These men moved with purpose toward awaiting transport. The phrase Earthling carried particular contempt. Not just species identification, but disdain. The tone suggested previous conflicts. Maybe corporate teams had encountered human security before. Maybe Earth's growing presence in certain sectors created friction. The word landed like an insult, not just a description. This was Helix Consortium work using guild personnel as cover. The corporation maintains deniable assets throughout the underworld. They provide funding, equipment, intelligence. The guild provides bodies and plausible denial. If caught, the thieves would claim independent operation. The corporation would express shock and disappointment. Standard corporate espionage tactics. Liam's human identity created a unique vulnerability. The corporation now had a specific target, name, species, likely ship registration. They could track his movements, predict his patterns. But humanity's unpredictability also worked in his favor. Corporate models struggle with illogical behavior. They expect rational self-preservation. Humans often defy that expectation. The warning echoed because it was both threat and admission. The thief revealed they knew what he was, revealed they had contingency plans for human intervention, revealed this was corporate work, not random crime. That momentary exchange in the crowded corridor established the conflict lines. Corporate precision against human instinct, calculation against impulse. Liam's action had triggered corporate protocols he didn't know existed. Response teams would be alerted. Databases would be queried. His military background would flag him as a potential complication. The corporation now saw him not as a random human, but as a specific obstacle. His reflex action had personal consequences he couldn't yet imagine. The thief's mask hid a smile, maybe, or a grimace of recognition. They'd trained for this scenario. Human intervention was a calculated risk. Their warning was part of the protocol. Mark the obstacle. Identify the variable. The corporation would now track Liam's movements, analyze his patterns, determine whether he represented ongoing risk. That single phrase shifted him from bystander to person of interest. The incident in the corridor immediately generated multiple data streams. The Thieves Guild automated systems logged the failed extraction. They noted the human intervention, the precise maneuver, the unexpected variable. This data packet transmitted automatically to their corporate clients as per service agreements. Simultaneously, Port Nexus security sensors captured the altercation, flagging it as minor disturbance before automatically purging the record due to jurisdictional protocols. Helix Consortium monitoring systems ingested the Guild's report within milliseconds. Their algorithms scanned for specific triggers, intervention events, security breaches, unexpected variables. The system flagged Liam's military-style takedown as a concerning anomaly. It automatically pulled his ship registration from port databases, cross-referenced his transport schedule, and accessed his limited public records. The corporation now knew his name, his ship's designation, his planned departure time, and his Earth military background.